Real talk, raw truth, raging hearts. Welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. Like, share, and subscribe.
Hi, and welcome to From the Minds of Raging Brats. I'm Heather.
And I'm Ashley.
So how was this week for you?
It's been very up and down and all over the frickin' place for me. It's different. And I have been very, very annoyed, very, very frustrated, very happy, made some stupid decisions this week. But, nobody died and everything's okay.
Well, there's that.
How's your week going?
Mine has been overwhelming. This week is a hard week for me of the year, and it hit me really hard. And there were a couple days I'm pretty sure that I'm only here because the universe still wants me here.
Yeah.
But Christmas is over. Got less than a week left to get to the new year.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
New Year's Day is always a very difficult day for me, but I will be happy to be leaving this year behind.
Yeah. So, because of that, we just had to forego, and I know I put it in the community page but we had to forego talking about Epstein because I'm not emotionally in a place where I can even open those files at this moment, let alone discuss them.
Yeah.
So this week instead, we're going to turn our attention to Christmas and New Year holidays around the world and kind of the origins of winter, because we've kind of gotten into this commercialism and the idea that Christmas is this giant celebration, but winter was never a celebration historically. Winter was a test of survival.
Yes.
It was not what it has become. So before we start talking about the modern holidays, the modern stresses, or modern comparison, we need to say some things out loud that most people don't remember or were never even taught. Historically, winter was not a season people celebrated. It just wasn't. It was the season that decided who lived and who didn't.
Yes.
And that isn't for shock factor. That was reality. People knew that come wintertime, the beginning of the year before the modern world, that the end of the year when winter hit was when they were going to lose 2/3 of their population.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Think about it. They didn't have modern conveniences like heating to keep them warm. They didn't have refrigeration of the food to keep it so you could still eat it and it not getting frostbitten, and so you could store meat, vegetables, whatever.
Well, finding them was harder than storing them.
Well, that's what I mean. We don't have to worry about storing them anymore because we can just put it in a fridge or in our climate-controlled house, and it's going to be just fine.
Or we can hunt in abundance during the warmer months and store it in a freezer.
Exactly.
For most of human history, the majority of the population, though, did die during the winter months. From starvation, illness, exposure, and sometimes from just pure exhaustion. Literally. Spring was when celebration came. Harvest was when they had celebration. Winter was a test of endurance, period.
Yeah.
Winter was a die-off season. There was no grocery store, no central heating, no antibiotics, no safety net. Food ran out. people got sick, fires went out, bodies weakened, communities expected to lose people. Entire family lines sometimes disappeared over a winter. That wasn't uncommon.
It was literally the definition of survival of the fittest.
So when we sit here and talk about winter traditions, we're not talking about joy at the center. We're talking about psychological survival tools. Personally, I celebrate Yule instead of Christmas because Christmas is just really traumatic for me. And so I don't want to take the magic from my kids. So we keep the celebration alive. But even that isn't sticking true to the origins because Yule was not a time of celebration. It was a marking of the days getting longer again. That was the shortest day of the year. And after that, the days were going to get longer again, which meant the light was returning, heat was returning, life was returning. It was the halfway point that said, if you can hold on, you're on the downward slope now.
Yeah, you're almost there.
It was never meant to be turned into what it is today. And it didn't mean abundance. It didn't mean that they were safe. It didn't even mean relief.
Yeah.
It just was acknowledging that the darkness was not going to last forever and that they were on the way back towards survival.
And they were coming
Not
together as a community to remind each other of that.
Yes. And when they talk about the Yule log for Yule, that wasn't meant to be like, oh, that's just so cool. Hear the flickering fire. The Yule log was meant to burn as long as it possibly could. That was the biggest, best log they could find that went on the fire to be the base, to burn as long as possible. Yes, they threw other wood in there to keep the fire going and roaring and warm, but that Yule log, that was the main big piece that was brought in, that they didn't just cut down to firewood, that they got the fire going and then they put that log on there to burn for time, to endure. It wasn't ever meant to be some symbolic fluff. It was practical to save lives, to keep you alive. It meant that you had heat, that you could cook, and that you could survive a little longer.
And a lot of the traditions that had practical, beginnings have become, oh, that's just so pretty, or that's just so cool, and people don't have any knowledge of where those practices came from.
Yeah. We have gotten away from what this season was truly about. And I think that's why we're going to have this conversation today, because it is important. And you and I tend to talk about things that people don't want to talk about, or that they've forgotten,
or
that make people uncomfortable.
No.
Yeah. Keeping a log burning was about conserving fuel, rationing energy, maintaining hope in the middle of deprivation. This was not a festive fire, it was a life-preserving fire. Why this matters now. When people say modern holiday stress is dramatic or overblown, they forget that these traditions were built in times when survival anxiety was the baseline.
And the norm.
And when modern conditions start to resemble survival conditions again, food insecurity, housing instability, medical scarcity, our nervous systems recognize it immediately, even if our culture doesn't.
Yeah.
Early Christmas. Christianity absorbing survival rituals. Early Christmas didn't replace Yule, it just absorbed it.
Yes.
The light imagery, the candles, the warmth, the emphasis on shelter and birth during darkness.
Decorating
These were not accidental.
Food and ornaments.
These were not accidental. They were survival language. In Germany, they celebrate Advent as preparation, not indulgence. Advent wasn't about counting down gifts. It was about marking time, one candle at a time, 1 week survived. The light increased slowly, not all at once, because that's how endurance works. You don't leap out of winter, you inch through it. In Mexico, they have Las Posadas. And that is the reenactment of Mary and Joseph seeking shelter when Mary was about to give birth to Christ. Like, that story wasn't comforting, it was familiar. Displacement, rejection, vulnerability. The ritual wasn't about pretending everything was fine. It was about remembering what it feels like to need shelter, choosing collectively not to turn people away. Nordic traditions, winter as an enemy, not a vibe. Nordic countries and Nordic regions, winter is brutal. Fire, food, storage, and community cohesion weren't cultural preferences. They were survival requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even in modern days, their Nordic countries sometimes, with all the modern conveniences, still suffer through their winters. So imagine how it was without any of those modern conveniences.
Honestly, I can't even imagine. Like, you know how I am about the cold. I don't handle it well, and I have joked for years, it's in my DNA, but it's only a little bit of a joke because it's literally in my DNA. Like, a lot of Native Americans and a lot of Scottish and Irish people died because of the cold. And I really believe my DNA is like, nah, bitch. You have a way to get warm, get warm. We're not doing this.
I feel it. I feel it.
Not optional. Like, I think it was you guys, you asked me if I wanted to go skiing or snowboarding, and I was like, I'll stay in the lodge, away from the snow. It's real pretty from the inside.
For me, it would depend on my thyroid if it was acting up, because the cold intolerance for me with the thyroid issues is real. And I get hypothermic real fast. But when I didn't have the thyroid issues, I loved being out in the cold. Like, I would go skiing again if I could get through it. Like, if I could bundle up enough to where the cold intolerance didn't fuck with me, I would go skiing. Snowboarding, no. I need the ability to move both of my legs and to jump out of a ski if danger is imminent. Can't do that on a snowboard. I'm not about it.
See, honestly, at this point, if I'm getting on the snow, it's gonna be on a sled or an inner tube. Otherwise, I really don't need to be out there.
That's fun too. I love inner tubing, water or snow.
Yeah. Same.
Anyways, storytelling existed to keep people awake, alert, and psychologically intact through darkness. Joy wasn't the goal, staying alive was. When winter traditions were reframed as society stabilized, some people winter traditions slowly shifted. Survival rituals became celebrations, endurance became nostalgia, scarcity became aesthetics, and eventually we forgot why these traditions existed in the first place. The dangerous myth of winter joy. Modern culture treats winter as a time of obligation, to be joyful, to be generous, to be festive. But historically, winter was the time people braced themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They did not celebrate being in the storm.
No, it wasn't pretty to them. It was life-threatening.
They honored the possibility of making it through. At the heart of Yule and early Christmas wasn't magic. It was realism. The realism that said, this is hard, people will be lost, but we will keep the fire lit anyways. And that matters, especially now, because more people today are being pushed back into survival mode, even if our culture insists on pretending otherwise.
Very true.
So, audience, what does it change when we stop framing winter as celebration and start framing it as endurance again? We talk about the new year as if it's a fixed universal moment. January 1st, midnight, fireworks, resolution. But that idea is relatively modern, culturally specific, and historically disconnected from how humans actually experience time.
Very.
For most of human history, January 1st meant nothing. It wasn't a reset, it wasn't a beginning, it wasn't even practical.
No.
Why January doesn't make sense historically. Let's just see what it is. January sits in the deepest part of winter for much of the world. There is no renewal happening, no rebirth, no abundance. Fields are frozen, food is scarce, bodies are exhausted. So the idea that this is when people should start fresh isn't ancient wisdom. It's administrative.
Very much so.
Chinese New Year doesn't happen on January 1st. It follows the lunar calendar, usually falling between January and mid-February. And what matters here isn't the date, it's the purpose. The new year is about clearing old energy, clearing homes, settling debts, honoring ancestors, protection, and luck. It's not about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about making peace with it before moving forward. Why that matters. You don't start a new cycle without finishing the last one.
Yeah.
That's a lesson modern culture keeps skipping. Like, we don't seem to understand that you don't reset in the middle of struggle.
Yeah. And honestly, like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, if it's the new year, new beginnings, whatever, like, are you gonna open all the windows in your house in the middle of fucking winter? And dust out all the old stuff and, like, bring new beginnings in? No! You're gonna huddle in your home and be like, great, new year. Woo!
And then Nowruz, the new year that actually makes sense, Persian New Year, is the spring equinox in Iran. Nowruz, and I may be pronouncing that wrong, just apologies in advance, is celebrated at the spring equinox. Day and night are equal. Light and dark are balanced. And most importantly, winter has been survived. This is when renewal actually happens, not in the middle of scarcity, not in the middle of exhaustion, after. Nowruz includes symbols of growth, fertility, cleansing, and hope grounded in reality. You don't promise change before the ground can support it. You wait until life can actually grow again. Then, there's Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. In Judaism, Rosh Hashanah happens in early fall, not winter, not spring. After the harvest, it's not a loud celebration, it's a reflective one. The focus isn't new me. The focus is, who was I this year? Who did I harm? What needs repair? Why is this radical?
It really shouldn't be.
Go ahead.
It really shouldn't be that radical. Like, instead of how, like, America does, like, New Year, oh, I have to change so much stuff about myself, blah, blah, blah. There is, what did I do good, did I do good, bad, and what can I actually fix and improve on?
Yeah. Modern New Year culture skips accountability and jumps straight to self-optimization. Rosh Hashanah says you don't move forward without looking back. As they say, if you forget about history, it is doomed to repeat itself.
Yes.
Islamic New Year, time that moves with life. Now, this one I'm probably going to mispronounce. I'm sorry, but Hijri New Year or Muharram is Islam. The Islamic New Year is based on a pure lunar calendar. It moves about 10 to 11 days earlier every Gregorian year. That means it can fall in summer, winter, spring over the course of a lifetime. There is no fixed season, and that's intentional. Like last year, it was in July, I believe.
Oh.
The meaning, it's quiet, reflective, spiritual, not commercialized, not performative. It recognizes that time isn't owned by governments or markets. It belongs to life.
That's
Then,
intense.
go ahead.
So that's intense.
Yeah, but actually it makes sense, like, because they're following the year of the seasons, actually,
Yeah.
not some calendar made by men.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely get why they're doing it. It's just a very intense way to look at the time, changing of time.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, I believe this last year it was either end of July, early August, but then the 2 years before it was like mid-July and early July. So it literally shifts about 10 days every year.
Yeah.
Which means this year it should fall in August. And then moving on to Scotland, we have Hogmanay. Again, pronunciation, bear with me, I'm apologizing in advance. Is one of the few European New Year's traditions that still openly acknowledges fire and clearing. Burning the old, letting go, purifying. The emphasis isn't on becoming something new. It's on not carrying us unnecessary weight into the future.
I like that.
Me too. What all of these have in common? None of these New Year's ask people to pretend they're fine. None of them demand joy during scarcity. None of them insist on optimism before survival is secured. They mark time based on nature, cycles, survival, reflection. Not productivity, not capitalism, not spectacle.
Honestly, if you took out the government and like work and all of that, and you just looked at how the world actually operates, like as far as time goes, it makes a lot more sense to do it that way.
Well, and no one here, let me be clear that no one here is saying that January 1st is wrong, but it just isn't sacred. It's not some mystical, magical symbol of transition. And when we treat it like a universal emotional reset, we end up shaming people whose lives are still in survival mode.
Yeah.
You can't start fresh when you're still trying to make it through winter. And historically, nobody expected you to.
No. And that's something I've really had to think about. Like, I lost one of the most important people in my life on New Year's Day, so it's always been very hard when people are like, yeah, but celebrate. And I'm like, no, like, historically, there'd be a lot of people mourning death during this time of year. How about you just leave me alone?
Well, an audience, think about what happens when we stop forcing renewal in the middle of endurance. What would that do for us as society? Huh?
That's a lot of pressure let up off of you.
Yeah, I think it would. And, you know, society should remember that we are people. We are not these perfect computer generated images of ourselves. We are people living messy human lives.
And that comes with a lot of emotion.
And this is where it's important to correct something modern culture gets backward. Yule was not the celebration of surviving winter. I need to clarify this because of the celebration that I celebrate. I want to clarify it, not just its origins, but how it culminates. Yule was the midpoint, the moment you realized you were still in it. Ostara, the celebration of survival at the spring equinox, is where celebration actually began. This is the point where day and night were equal. Winter has not just turned, it has been endured. You survived.
Yes.
That was what was being honored, not hope alone, proof. You made it through the die-off season.
No.
This is when the ground began to soften. This is when seeds can be planted without being wasted. This is when life can resume. Celebrations only make sense after survival is confirmed. But then those weren't even our big celebrations. That was just okay, we made it. Our big deep breath. Celebration actually came with Beltane, with the return of fertility and abundance, and you could see the practical fertility around you, pregnant animals giving birth.
Yeah.
That was the first
evidence that you weren't going to starve when winter came next, maybe.
Yes, this was the season of reproduction, growth, abundance, life expanding again. That is when communities celebrated, because that was when they were like, okay, there's enough again. We are abundant again. We can eat heartily. We have all our needs met.
Yes.
Bodies were stronger. Food was consistent. The danger had passed. So when you looked at the old calendar, the logic was clear. Winter, endurance. Yule, the turning point. Ostara, survival confirmed. Beltane, abundance and fertility. Joy came after the threat. Why modern culture gets this wrong is because modern society demands joy at the most dangerous point in this cycle. It asks people to celebrate when they're still cold, hungry, exhausted, and afraid. That is an ancient tradition.
Oh.
It's revisionism. So when people today struggle during the holidays financially, emotionally, physically, that isn't failure, it's instinct. Their bodies remember something culture forgot. You don't celebrate while you're still trying to survive.
Exactly.
And here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Because our modern world has recreated this ancient survival cycle almost perfectly. We just don't call it that. The Christmas commercialism trap comes in. The modern winter holidays push people into debt in the worst possible point of the cycle.
Yeah. And for so many reasons, like they want to get Christmas presents, they want to whatever, but also this is the time of year when most people are laid off of their jobs and are struggling financially.
People spend during the most financially fragile season of the year, when heating costs are high, food costs are high, emotional pressure is high, and income is stretched thin. And then they're told that this overspending, this exhaustion is tradition.
And love. Well, it is shoved down our throats so hard that to put yourself into debt and to do these things for your people is a form of love.
Yeah. Tax season is the modern Ostara. Now look at what happens next. Tax season hits between Ostara and Beltane, right after winter, right after endurance, right after people barely made it through. That's when tax returns arrive, child tax credits arrive, refunds arrive, and people are waiting with bated breath, not to celebrate, but to catch up. Survival, not abundance. Most people aren't using tax returns for vacations or luxury. They're using them to pay off the debt they had to take on to survive winter. to catch up on rent or utilities, replace things that were broken, breathe again, just a little.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's very few people that are not spending at least a portion of their taxes on actual needs and has, and I had to put this aside until now, and now I can finally pay it off, get it, whatever.
That's not prosperity. That's survival delayed. The cycle mirrors the past exactly. Ancient people endured winter, then celebrated survival in spring. Modern people endure winter debt and then use tax season to repair the damage. Different tools, same cycle. The only difference is now people are shamed for it.
Yes.
Why people don't see it? We're told tax season is about responsibility. We're told holiday spending is about generosity. No one points out that the system relies on people going into debt, then barely climbing back out. That's not failure. That's design.
Yes.
So when people say the holidays are harder now, they are not imagining it. Their bodies, their finances, their stress levels are responding to the same survival rhythms humans have always lived by, just wrapped in commercial packaging.
Mm-hmm.
And when you understand that, the shame falls away. So, question again for the audience. Who benefits from pretending this cycle is about celebration instead of survival?
Well, there's a few obvious ones.
And those that are saying that the holidays are harder are not just calling back to nostalgia. They are recognizing where we are at right now. Because what we're living right now, economically, emotionally, socially, is closer to survival conditions than celebration conditions. No amount of holiday music or twinkle lights can override that. Let's say this clearly without softening it or coming in to make the landing easier. A single income household is no longer survivable for most people.
I know.
Even 2 incomes often aren't enough.
Yeah.
And for single parents, especially single parents with multiple kids,
I don't know how.
the expectations placed on them are actually impossible.
Yeah, and that is the majority of the people that end up going into credit card debt, working 2-3 jobs for 4 months straight, getting 4 hours of sleep a night, like, and that was my mom. Like, even though she didn't have multiple kids, she was taking care of multiple people. Like, and honestly, it's probably a little more expensive to take care of a full-grown adult, like, in some ways. And she was working 2-3 jobs, pulling her car on the side of the road so she could sleep for 3 hours. Like, I seen my mom for 15 minutes every 4 days back then. And it's because of the expectations that was put on her. She should have never felt like she had to do that and provide everything that we needed, wanted, or could ever hope for because it was an expectation of society.
Well, and those expectations are survive, provide, regulate everyone's emotions, and create magic.
Mm-hmm.
While food costs are rising, while rent rises, utilities rise, wages don't. That isn't a motivation issue. That is basic arithmetic. Food insecurity during the holidays. For a lot of families, the holidays don't bring comfort. Fear of whether food will last through winter break, because a lot of kids, the meals that they get most days are at school, and suddenly they're not at school and they don't have food and their parents don't have the money to provide.
Yeah.
Not because they don't want to, but because they need to keep a roof over their head and the heater on so they can actually survive. And food, well, that's a luxury.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something you can deal without. You can't deal without the roof over your head, especially with multiple children.
Then as a parent, you're wondering, are your kids going to notice how little there is? Are they going to notice that you're not providing? Are they going to think that you don't love them?
Yeah.
Fear of what will break next and how to fix it. Trying to manufacture joy while worrying about food is not festive. It is literal survival under pressure.
Yeah.
And now layer influencer culture on top of that. I need to be really clear about this before I get into this. This is not about bashing influencers, because none of us, and I'm pretty sure that applies to the world at large, none of us struggling parents wish that influencers had less so that we could have more. That's not what we're saying. But I do need to be clear when I get into this that it might sound a little bit like that initially, because the reality is it appears that way. So let's get into it. Endless videos of $5,000 Christmases, $10,000 Christmases, stacks of gifts per child. And here's the part that gets misunderstood, like I was just talking about. This is not envy. Most struggling parents don't wish those influencers had less.
No.
They don't want anyone's kids to suffer. They genuinely wish abundance for everyone. What they wish and what hurts is that they wish that their own children could have the bare minimum without fear.
Yes. That is
And when you're in that position, counting dollars, choosing between groceries and heat, watching someone casually throw money away isn't expiring. It's excruciating. Not because someone has more, but because it highlights in real time that your child's needs are negotiable in a world where excess is treated as entertainment. That isn't envy. That is fucking dehumanizing.
Yeah. And it's especially hard in today's day and age where your kids are watching all these commercials, where they're on the internet too, where they're on YouTube or wherever else and watching this content. They're seeing. It's not like you can hide it from them. Not in today's day and age.
No, you can't. Modern holiday culture doesn't just ask people to survive. It asks them to perform, smile, be grateful, show up, don't make it uncomfortable. That performance demand is brutal for anyone living with trauma.
Yeah.
For people with trauma, the holidays are not neutral. They're loud, they're crowded, they're full of expectations, forced proximity, and emotional labor. Just getting through the season can take everything someone has. But society doesn't make space for survival. What was that?
I said, yeah.
It demands cheer. And then there's estrangement. Parents estranged from children, children estranged from parents, families fractured by abuse, addiction, neglect, or harm. Even when estrangement is the right choice, even when it's necessary for safety, it still hurts. Especially during the holidays. Holidays are memory machines. They pull up what was, what wasn't, and what will never be again. Choosing distance doesn't erase grief. It just means you're grieving without pretending.
I know for me, the holidays can be very difficult. Like, I used to have huge family celebrations. On both sides of my family, like, my mom had a bunch of cousins, aunts, uncles, like, whatever. On my dad's side, we all went to my great-grandparents', like, huge house, and then it was all the extended family, like, hundreds. And now I celebrate with 4 people. not even that many sometimes. And it's very, there's reasons and good reasons that it is like that now, but it's heartbreaking. Especially for my child, knowing that he has never had that in his life. Like, it really does break a part of my heart every year, like, just wishing he could experience something like that.
Yep. Yeah. We also need to talk about something uncomfortable. Performative charity. Angel tree programs, gift donations, holiday drives. These programs exist because the children that are accepted by them would otherwise receive nothing. And when someone chooses to take a child's name, that's a responsibility. The harm people don't think about when they go, these children should just be happy to have a gift and do the bare minimum. Children don't interpret neglect the way adults do.
Not at all.
They don't think the economy is bad. What they think is Santa doesn't care about me.
Yeah. I had a child psychologist put it to me like this one day, and it's a thing that has always made the most sense to me about children. Children are selfish, but it is a completely different kind of selfish than adult selfish. Their selfish is if anything else goes wrong in the world around me, and at home, if I don't get presents, if like whatever, what did I do wrong? I must be so bad, or I must not be like they take on all the guilt, all the blame into their center without half the time even expressing it.
Yeah. When someone takes a child's ticket and does the bare minimum, not because they couldn't do more, but because they didn't care to, that child doesn't feel helped. They feel forgotten. And there are so many people who would make that child's Christmas warm and thoughtful and human. If you can't do that, don't take that ticket. Because what's at stake isn't generosity, it's dignity. And I just have to say, like, I heard a lot of people on the internet saying to people that wanted to do the bare minimum, you can donate money to like Toys for Tots and stuff. And that is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. If we stopped looking at it as a society as that child should just be lucky, and then we started looking at it as where can my dollars go to most affect that child? If I only have $20 to donate, let me donate to Toys for Tots. If I have $500 to give, let me go adopt a kid or 2 or 5, like depending on what they want. Like, let me go look at that angel tree. Let me find who I can help the best with my $500. Or like the one lady that she's a teacher that saves $3,500 a year out of her paychecks to do 1 to 2 angel tree kids.
Perfect.
Let me just say to you, lady, if you ever see this video, you are an angel in disguise.
You are supposed to come to programs like that.
Yes, because the fact that you think that a child, 1 to 2 child's Christmas should take about $3,500, that's what the magic of Christmas is supposed to be about for children.
Yes.
Now we've gotten into a commercialism state where adults are like, what about me? What about me? And like, okay, I get that it sucks as an adult to not have anything to open under the Christmas tree when you remember, if you've ever had Christmas magic as a kid and you remember that. I get it. It sucks. Like, yeah, there's no magic as an adult like that. But is it really about us as an adults? Really? Like, can you not buy yourself what you need another time or ask people to help you get it for your birthday or something? Is it really that important that you take away the magic of Christmas from children so that you can have a magical Christmas?
And that's like you said, really look at the tree and look at the tickets. Don't just grab a ticket and walk off, because it's not like all these kids are asking for brand new Xboxes or PlayStations. Some of them are just like, I really want black pants. Or I would really love a hairbrush that's actually like for a girl or for a boy. Like, not all of these things are extensive, crazy lists. Like, look at what you can do and get that one. Don't get
Yeah.
one that you know you're not going to be able to afford or don't even want to do and just be like, whatever. I'll just get whatever.
Well, that teacher that I told you about, she initially ended up adopting a family of 4 girls because the girls on their wish list only had clothes and food.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, when I say food, I mean like cereal for breakfast, please, was on their list.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I remember being that kid.
And if you can see a tag like that on a tree and think, I'm going to go buy some generic ass shit and throw it in a bag because this kid should be grateful for whatever they get, please don't do the disservice to that child. Please don't take away that child's magic because of your selfishness. Donate the money that you would have wanted to spend to Toys for Tots to help those programs actually do better. Because honestly, those programs are sad in today's day and age. And the kids that have to go through Toys for Tots are often so much worse off than any of the other kids out there and getting gifts. It's a really sad program these days because people just don't care anymore about it.
And if anybody doesn't believe that, I will tell you right now, the #1 donator in Oregon for that program is the Strippers of Portland Association. Our #1 donor. And I'm not saying nothing bad about strippers. They're amazing and we love their charity and everything. But if those girls can do it, why can't anybody like do what needs to be done for the children?
Yeah.
Itty bitty people?
Now, let's sum up why this season tends to break people. Let's just list it off. When you stack all of this together, financial stress, food insecurity, comparison, trauma, estrangement, performance pressure, you get a season that overwhelms the nervous system. This is one of the reasons self-harm risk rises during this time of year to some of its highest levels all year. Not because people are weak, not because they can't handle joy, but because pressure, grief, isolation, and survival stress collide without relief, and there is nowhere to put it.
Yeah.
Historically, winter was never about joy. It was about endurance, keeping the fire lit, making it to spring. And if that's all you do this season, that fucking counts.
For a lot.
Quiet counts, rest counts, survival counts. You are not failing the holidays. The holidays were never meant to cost this much. At the heart of Yule, of early Christmas, of every winter tradition wasn't magic. It was honesty. The honesty that said, this is hard. People will be lost, but we'll keep the fire burning anyway. If you're still here, if you're still breathing, if you're still trying, that matters more than you know. And if this season is heavy for you, like it is for me, you're not broken. You're human, living in a time that's asking way too much of human beings.
Yeah. And for all the wrong reasons.
Maybe the most radical holiday tradition right now isn't celebration. Maybe it's compassion for ourselves, for each other, while we make it through, trying to keep the fire lit. Compassion for the reality that a lot of us are still just trying to make it through winter. Historically, no one expected us to thrive in the middle of scarcity. We were just expected to endure. They were expected to keep the fire lit, to share warmth where they could, to conserve energy, to grieve losses quietly, to hold on to the knowledge that the dark would not last forever. Somewhere along the way, we flipped that script. We started demanding joy where there should have been gentleness. We started demanding performance where there should have been rest. We started treating survival like failure. If you are exhausted this season, that makes sense. If you're grieving people you're estranged from, even when that estrangement was necessary, that makes sense. If you're a parent doing impossible math in your head every day, trying to protect your kids from the weight of it, that more than makes sense. If you're carrying trauma, just getting through the holidays feels like running a damn marathon barefoot, that makes sense. You're not behind. You're not broken. You are not failing some invisible test of gratitude or holiday spirit. Winter was never meant to be conquered. It was meant to be survived. And survival is not something to be ashamed of. If all you can do this season is show up quietly, that counts. If all you can do is feed your kids, keep yourself safe, and make it to the next day, that fucking counts. If joy shows up for you, even if small ways, that's beautiful. And if it doesn't, your worth does not disappear. Spring doesn't arrive because we force it. It arrives because we stayed alive long enough to meet it. So maybe this year, instead of asking ourselves to be festive, we ask ourselves to be humane. Maybe we stop measuring our lives against highlight reels. Maybe we stop assuming that survival should look pretty. At the heart of every winter tradition, Yule, early Christmas, every lit fire ritual was a simple truth. We are still here. And tonight, if that's the only truth you can hold on to, let it be enough. Wherever you are this season, celebrating, enduring, grieving, or just breathing, we see you. You matter. And you don't have to pretend otherwise. At the end of the day, there is a saying that sticks with me a lot. And it's, we're all walking each other home. And it sticks with me because when you think about winter traditions, real winter traditions, that's exactly what they were. People weren't meant to endure winter alone. They were meant to build and huddle together, to share fire, to share warmth, to share what little there was. Not to compete, not to perform, not to prove anything. Just to help each other make it home to the next season. Winter wasn't about thriving. It was about staying close to one another so that nobody froze alone. And maybe that's what this season is asking of us now. Not perfection, not celebration, not excess. Just presence, just humanity. Just the quiet understanding that if we can help each other make it through, that is the tradition. We're not meant to walk this season alone. We were always meant to walk each other home. And with that, I just want to say, we love you guys. I'm sorry this wasn't the episode. Sorry this wasn't the episode you guys were expecting. But maybe it's the episode we all needed.
Yeah.
I hope you tune in next week. Like, share, and subscribe. Share with somebody that needs it if you think they do. And remember,
Rage responsibly.
Bye, guys.
y'all.
We're also available on Spotify. We said what we said, and we're just getting started. Thanks for listening. Now go rage responsibly. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.